Hello everyone and welcome to Let's Talk. Today we are going to be chatting about Prismacolors. To clarify, we are talking about the Prismacolor Premier Color Pencil, not the Verithin or the Scholars, both of which are considerably different. The Verithins being a much harder lead and the Scholars being a student grade pencil. The Eagle Pencil Company was established in 1856 by Daniel Berolsheimer. By 1938, the Eagle Prismacolor Colored Pencils were created and were the start of the Prismacolor pencils we know of today. This here is a picture of the Eagle Prismacolors. This image was found on eBay. I'll link the listing below if you're interested. But you can see that there's a significant difference in the lettering as well as the little eagle logo that is on the pencil. In 1969, Barrel Ltd. purchased the Eagle Pencil Company and named the pencils Barrel Prismacolor Colored Pencils. I have some examples of those. The ones that I have are among the discontinued colors that are no longer made for the current Prismacolor sets. I'll include the list of discontinued colors that I have in the description below. I got this list from a representative from Prismacolor a few years ago, so there may be some that are missed. I tried contacting them this year, but have yet to receive a response. Among the discontinued colors are a whole line of metallic colors. Through various coloring groups a few years ago, I was able to discover a small shop in Colorado that actually still had some discontinued colors in their stock. So I called them up and bought what I could. They were able to package and send them out to me. So the ones that I have are the metallic green, the jade, the blue, the violet, the rose, the purple, and the maroon. And these are all metallic, along with steel and Deco Orange. Deco Orange is pretty similar to like salmon, except it's a little bit lighter. Now of these, only some are Barrel pencils. There's a distinct difference in the labeling, the font, the order, and some of the information. For instance, the Barrel pencil has imprinted on the back, made in the USA, flexible lead, even has a quality control number, which is kind of hard to see, but this one says quality control number 40. It's misstamped, but I'm going to guess it says 41. This one, for instance, says 21, quality control number 21. And this one, the steel, has quality control 71, which is really interesting. It's definitely not printed on today's pencils. In 1995, Prismacolor was purchased by Newell Brands, which led to the creation of the sub-brand Sanford Prismacolors. As you can see, the font is different than the Barrel. Also, the imprints on the back have been removed. So there's that print there. And this one here, the Deco Orange, does not have any of that print. But as you can see, the USA is still part of the labeling. Now, this one isn't part of the metallics. This is a red one, and this actually came from a 12-set pencil set that I bought in probably 2005. And you can tell the difference because of the font also, but you can see that the Sanford portion of the label has been removed. So it's all pretty close to the same, but there just isn't Sanford on the label anymore. So pretty much anything that sits kind of between 1995 and 2010, you're gonna find is probably gonna look like this or like this. In 2010, Prismacolor's manufacturing moved to Mexico, and unfortunately that's where many artists began to see a change in quality. Some of the quality issues include off-center cores, breakage, wood splitting, lead falling out, etc. Although I am going to include a video in the link below that was posted on YouTube in 2010 that shows how Prismacolors were made. I couldn't confirm when it was shot, but based on the printing of the pencils in the video, it looked like it was after they made the change in 2010. As you can see, this is how the labeling has changed since 2010. The color is different. We now have a silver metallic versus a gold metallic. The font is different. It is specified that it is the Prismacolor Premiers. The code names are different. So this one's, well, not the numbers are different, but the way they have it done. So this one has got a little metallic square, which actually they probably changed that. That was a good change, made it easier to read. But what you can see now, and it's pretty light, but you can see that we have moved to Mexico versus USA. 2011 was when they released the full set of 150 Prismacolors. Now, I don't have my full case anymore because I went ahead and put them all in their own case because I'm incredibly clumsy and I drop it all the time. So I don't have the box anymore, but it will have this same kind of similar design on it. When I first started coloring, I almost exclusively used Prismacolors. Yes, they have their issues, and these days I don't often reach for them, but they're still a great starter pencil. The lead is smooth and very forgiving. When using these pencils on an image, one of the other issues that you may come across is something called wax bloom. What that is when you come back to an image you already colored with Prismacolors and you might notice a little bit of white film over your picture. This is all due to an oxidization process with the wax. To fix this, you simply need to wipe it off with a cloth and you can seal it with a fixative to keep the pencils from reacting to the oxygen. I've heard about sealing with a fixative while you're working on it, but I haven't tried that myself and I don't know how well it works as far as blending is concerned. When it comes to breakage, there are a couple things you can do. However, I must first say the thing that you shouldn't do, and that is microwave your pencils. The lettering on the pencils is metallic and can cause sparking and potentially damage your microwave, causing a fire hazard. So the best thing you can do if you have a broken core and you want to try and salvage it is to either set your pencils in the sun and let the heat of the sun or the warmth heal your pencils that way, or you can try setting them on a warm, I wouldn't recommend a super hot, but a warm heating pad. And the idea is that the wax in the pencil melts and kind of reseals together. One of the other issues is wood splitting. You can see this here. This is part of the quality control issue. You can see that it's split right down the seam here. And this is something to keep an eye out for if you suspect that a pencil might do that. For instance, on this Deco pink, do you see this line that's kind of running underneath the label? That is a place where the paint has started to split, which is potential for a pencil to crack. When a pencil is made, it's used two different sides of wood that are glued together, and generally you can see where that seam is. You can see here that the core is a bit off center, which is another issue that comes with these. For instance, this green one here, this is a newer one. You can see it's completely off center, and that can cause a lot of issues when you are sharpening versus one of the older ones, like this Deco orange. This was one of the older Sanford ones. You can tell a very clear difference in quality when it comes to that. To prevent this kind of splitting, I would recommend using a handheld sharpener. This is the Staedtler Norris sharpener. This has been my go-to one lately, and I highly recommend it. And the reason behind this is it'll give you more control than an automatic one. I like automatic ones, but with something with as soft as lead as Prismacolor, handheld is probably going to be a little bit more friendly for that. Also, make sure that your blade is sharp. A dull blade in your sharpener is never good and can hinder your ability to sharpen past a wood split. And we talked about the split in the wood already, and you're wondering like, well, what causes this? And it has to do with the process the pencils are made. The wood is cedar, but the issue is how much glue is used. For instance, a Caran d'Ache Luminance has glue all the way down the length of the barrel, while Prismacolor does not. This is a big reason why sometimes the lead will completely fall out of its casing. That doesn't happen all the time. I think I can remember maybe twice it happening, but it literally will just slide straight out of the casing. Let's talk cost. Let's break it down a little bit. The price for the large set of the 150 pencils fluctuates quite a bit depending on the demand, availability, and time of the year. At the time of filming this, the 150 set was listed at $111. That comes out to about 74 cents per pencil. However, I've seen the sets go as low as $84 and as high as $140. So when you're looking around, be sure to check all the sites. Amazon is usually where I've purchased mine in the past, but that also brings other risks. Oddly enough, with all the different things out there, there is a risk for counterfeit Prismacolors. I myself haven't come across them yet, but I have heard of them. My biggest piece of advice is to always pay attention to who the sellers are. If you're not entirely sure or comfortable, try purchasing from a reputable art store like Blick. At the time of this video, the 150 set is listed for $119. Your other option, if you aren't ready to invest in a large set or it's not in your budget, is to try purchasing the 12 count, which is like this one, and you can just try them out, or you can always order open stock from Blick as well. That's one of the great things about Prismacolor is that you can purchase them open stock. So rather than when you run out of your favorite color from the 150 set and buy a whole new set, you can just go to Blick or Jerry's Artorama or wherever else you get yours from and just get the single pencils. I know it seems like the cons outweigh the pros when it comes to these pencils, but schools and colleges continue to recommend these pencils to their students, and there's a reason for that. They are still a good pencil. There are very few that compare to the creamy texture of the lead. The closest one I could compare it to would be the Caran d'Ache Luminance, but those pencils are a much larger investment. There's something about the versatility of the lead and its forgiving nature that allows you to create something beautiful. So the big question is, should you get them? I say you should at least try them. Give them a chance. See if they're for you. 150 is a huge amount of color variation. If you're learning to do portraits, they've got a great selection of portrait tones. If you were only going to try one pencil, I would say purchase the Prismacolor White. When I buy them, I actually purchase them in a pack of 12 because I use them to help blend my other pencils. For instance, everyone knows that I love the Staedtler Ergosoft, but it's only a set of 36. And on occasion, I try to get a variation in lighter colors, and the Prismacolor White does that. What I want to do next now is I want to give you a few tips on blending with your Prismacolors and share some of my favorite color combinations. So this is a page from Johanna Basford's Magical Jungle. I chose this one because it's got some large leaves and some good spaces. I have a selection of some colors here we're going to go through. I generally grab my colors in groups of 3. So we have this group over here. It's kind of a nice kind of aquamarine. We've got a green, we've got a red, we've got pink, we've got blue, and we've got a purple. I'm also going to be using Deco pink with the purple. I'm realizing now I didn't choose any orange or yellow, but I don't think I default to those colors very often. So we are going to use, let's just use these leaves because they're nice and big, and I'm just going to show you how I blend these together. We even have our trusty, handy dandy Prismacolor White. Now the interesting thing is some of my earlier videos were leaf coloring videos using Prismacolors, and they actually have some of the most views. So Prismacolors are a pencil that is used a lot, so I think that's what a lot of people can connect with. So for our first combination, and I will have all these names listed in the description below, we have Peacock Green, Aquamarine, and light aqua. Honestly, I also love Parrot green. The blues and greens in this, they really are very good. I remember when Lost Ocean came out, I stocked up on so many blues, it was ridiculous. Okay, so we are going to start with Peacock Green. I generally go dark to light. A lot of people say you should go light to dark, but I think it all has to do with how you blend. So we're gonna start with Peacock Green. I go heavier where I want the darkest part to be, and then I lighten my pressure so that I don't create any harsh lines, and then I will overlap my other colors. I will say this, when I first started using Prismacolors, that was like, it was pretty much all I used when I was coloring. So when I went to move to a harder pencil like Faber-Castells, I remember I got a 12 set of them. I just straight up did not like them. And here was the problem, is I had been using Prismacolors so exclusively that when I got the Faber-Castells, it was just a 12 set, I tried to use them like I used these. And at the time, I was all about the smooshing and the pressing hard, and that just does not work with Faber-Castells. So if you are strictly a Prismacolor user and you are thinking about moving to a harder lead pencil, keep in mind you may have to relearn your technique a little bit. Maybe start with a less expensive, harder one like the Staedtler Ergosoft. Those trained me to learn how to use harder leaded pencils and start to learn some layering. All right, now we're going to use Aquamarine, and we're going to go back over the Peacock Green a little bit. Not going to press super hard yet, but I want to make a smooth layer. Now I can press a little bit harder here, but just like the previous color, we're going to fade it out lightly. And this is what's going to create your smooth blend. If you make lines that are too hard, it's going to be that much more difficult to blend your colors together. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and grab the light aqua. Still not pressing that hard. What we're going to go ahead and do after we use this light aqua is we're going to go in with another layer. So now we're going to go ahead and grab the Peacock Green again. And always make sure that when you're coloring, your wrist is comfortable. If you're going like this, then your wrist is going to be too stiff, which it's like that. Or if you're going like this, it's not going to be comfortable. You won't be able to flow as much, and you won't be able to create as light a layers as you like. So just always make sure that your arms and your wrist are comfortable. Try loosening your grip on the pencil as well. Just because if you're gripping it, then you might be pressing too hard. Because I've had people ask me like, how do you get such light layers? Or how do I not press so hard? A lot of it is grip. Try holding your pencil further back if you need to. But just practice. Practice makes progress. All right, so that is our second layer of the Peacock green. And I'm going to show you what I do with the white too when we get to that point. Just going to add it a little bit darker here. Okay, now let's go ahead and grab Aquamarine again. This is our middle color. Sort of bridges the gap between the light aqua and the peacock green. Couldn't remember the name of it for a second. Okay, then we're going to use our light aqua. Okay, now we're going to grab our peacock green again. Don't be afraid to add multiple layers. Like, it's one thing if you just want to, if you don't have the patience for it, that's okay. But if you're wanting to get these nice light layers, just relax, take your time, don't rush it, and enjoy the process. All right, so peacock green. Now I'm going to add it a little bit here because these two leaves are overlapping. So I want to be able to create a little bit of some color variation and shadow there. And we're actually going to add a fourth color on here. We are going to use Mulberry, and it is kind of a reddish sort of violet color because we're dealing with a blue kind of green here. And the reason we are doing that is because without using black, you can use complementary colors to shade your area that you are using. So now we're going to grab Aquamarine again. Okay. Now we're going to go ahead and grab Mulberry. You could do a slightly darker color than this, but we're going to use Mulberry today. I'm going to take it and I'm going to go along that edge here. A little bit in the corner. Now I definitely have a much lighter touch with these pencils than I did when I first began. So my style now is much different than it was in the beginning. And that's just all part of learning what works for you. Okay. Now we can go ahead and grab our peacock green again. Now you can use a blender over the top of this. Prismacolor does have a blender, and actually I've done a video all on blenders, so if you want to learn more about blenders, you can go watch that one. It's a Let's Talk, so it's right up there with the playlist. But I honestly really don't like the Prismacolor blender. So in any other normal situation, I would probably use, we're using Aquamarine now, the Caran d'Ache blender, but I want to stick to strictly Prismacolor, but I also don't want to use the Prismacolor blender. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the Prismacolor white here in a second to blend this through. All right, now we're going to use light aqua. Okay, so now you can see there's a little bit of kind of like white flecks in here, right? That is called the tooth. And if you want to learn more about that, the last Let's Talk video we did was all on papers, PDFs, and printers. But we talk about tooth a little bit, and that is the texture in the paper. So what we're going to go ahead and do now is we're going to take our white. Now this will lighten it. Keep in mind that using a white on here will lighten your colors. But we're actually going to go over it again with our 3 greens and maybe our mulberry. So now we're going to use our white. Okay, and I'm going to press a little bit harder. The idea behind this is I am smoothing out that tooth and eliminating that texture. And I'm definitely pressing a little bit harder now. Still trying to stay in the lines, but if you go out the lines, it's okay. It's all about having fun. Okay. Now we're going to go ahead. So you see now we've smoothed out that texture, but our color is considerably lighter. So now we're going to take our handy dandy dusting brush, because one of the things with Prismacolors is that if you move the pigment across the page, you're going to smear it everywhere. So use the dusting brush. Okay. Now we're going to grab our peacock green again. We have eliminated the white underneath the paper. So now we can press a little bit harder. with our Peacock green. And again, there may be some of you that are watching and be like, I don't have time for all those layers, and that is okay. You just find what works for you. I do it this way and show you this way because this is what I do. But it's all about practicing and kind of finding what works for you. Okay, so we're going to bring that Peacock green down here. Then we're going to go ahead and grab our Aquamarine. So you can imagine, I sometimes look at when we do our streams and they're like 2 hours long. And then I look at what we did and it's just like, how did I not get more done? This is the exact reason why I did not get more done, because I do 20 gajillion layers on one section of a leaf, and that's okay. It is okay. Everybody does it differently. Okay, let's grab just a little bit of that Mulberry again. We're almost done with this section. I've lost count how many layers we can do. If you know how many layers I've used, go ahead and put them in the comments. So a little bit of Mulberry there, and then we're going to use Peacock green. Okay, we're going to go over that Mulberry just a little bit. And there is the blend with those three. So again, that was using Peacock green, Aquamarine, light aqua, and Mulberry, and well, white. Gonna add that white in there. So now what I'm gonna do, now that I've sort of talked you through how the rest of them were blending, I'm gonna grab our other colors over here and I'm gonna fill in the rest. And then like I said, I'll make sure and list everything in the description below. So for now, sit back, enjoy the music, and enjoy the coloring. Now we finished this coloring part, and I'm actually going to take a little bit of this Tuscan Red that I've been using, and I want to add a little bit of shadow and depth to the right side of the leaf. So now I'm going to go ahead, go over what I've done, and just give this a little bit more variation. And this is entirely up to you, whether or not you want to do it, but I wanted to add just a bit more. Let's go ahead and try a little bit of white over the top of it, just to help with that blend. Adding the white also helps to make it a bit more subtle and not super stark. Got that Peacock green that we used up here. Make sure we don't lose the saturation of that green. Okay, grab a little bit of that Aquamarine. little bit of that light aqua. I know we have 3 different kinds of greens on here, but it really gives you an idea of how varied all of the shades are. And there you have it. These are all the pencils that we use for that one leaf. Now, you know, you could do rainbow leaf. You could do all your leaves these different colors, but these are just some color combinations that I like to default to that I feel like work well together. Like I said, I'll put all of the names in the description below so you can take a look at that. Well, folks, that's everything I have for you today. The bottom line is, despite Prismacolor's issues, they are worth trying out. Get a small set or get a single and see if they work for you. If you liked what you saw here today, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye!